Karen, State Police, we have a search warrant.
I'm in my pajamas. I don't even have shoes on. I'm being charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct. You can step inside.
There were 3 not guilty.
A Boston police officer lies dead in the snow. His body battered. His skull fractured. Frozen in sub-zero temperatures after a blizzard. His girlfriend says she dropped him off at a fellow officer's house for a party and never saw him again. But police say she's lying. They say she hit him with her SUV in a drunken rage and left him to die. She says they're framing her. That the real killers were inside that house. That a massive cover-up involving cops, their families, and investigators is protecting the truth. The case divides an entire Massachusetts town. Hundreds of supporters rally outside the courthouse screaming, "Free Karen Read." Federal investigators launch a probe into police corruption. A lead detective sends vile text messages about the defendant, calling her a whack job cunt. Evidence mysteriously appears days after the initial search. Key witnesses Google how long to die in cold hours before the body is found. And after 2 trials, millions of dollars spent, and years of investigation, one question remains unanswered. Was Karen Read a murderer who got away with it? Or was she an innocent woman nearly destroyed by a corrupt system protecting its own? This is the story of the Karen Read case. And depending on who you ask, it's either the greatest miscarriage of justice in Massachusetts history.
I'm charged with second-degree murder now?
That's correct.
I have no idea what this is about now.
This is about the same exact incident, okay? Where's the medication?
Can I use the ladies' room?
I understand. We're gonna get
Call
all
your
that.
parents and they can come over and retrieve any item you need at once.
Yep.
I can't put...
Hold on. What about the shoe wear? What kind of footwear do you wear?
Anything, but can I... These are... I don't even have underwear. Can I put pants on?
And again, your parents can come over here and retrieve anything.
We'll get that medication for you and...
Can I put pants on, please?
Can you just step over side, please?
Where are your pants?
At the foot of my bed. Can I just have a pair of sheets?
We'll get those. Yeah. In the meantime, let's follow this trooper right here, all right?
But where can I put my pants on?
At the barracks.
Can I put them on before I go out of my house, please?
Ma'am, that's not part of our procedure. Once someone is
Can we
clean.
put pajamas?
You have a chance to change.
Through the barracks.
Have a seat there for me. Then you gotta put that cord or double lock. It's just like... See how crazy she is? Look at the cameras on her. She's more concerned when she looks like on TV.
Yeah. I'm still recording, just to let you know. Okay.
Or proof that the truth can prevail even against overwhelming odds. January 28, 2022. A Friday night in Canton, Massachusetts, a quiet suburb about 20 miles south of Boston. Karen Read, 44 years old, a successful equity analyst at Fidelity Investments and an adjunct professor at Bentley University, was out for drinks with her boyfriend of 2 years, John O'Keefe. John was 46, a 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department. He was beloved in his community. Known as a devoted cop, a caring friend, and most importantly, a loving guardian to his niece and nephew. In 2013 and 2014, John's sister and brother-in-law had both died suddenly, leaving behind 2 young children. Without hesitation, John took them in and raised them as his own. He was their hero. John and Karen seemed like a solid couple. They'd met years earlier, dated briefly, then reconnected in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic through Facebook. Friends described their relationship as passionate, sometimes intense, with occasional arguments like any couple, but also full of love and future plans. Karen adored John's niece and nephew. They talked about marriage, about building a life together. That Friday night, they met at C.F. McCarthy's, a local bar in Canton, around 9 p.m. Around 11, they moved across the street to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, where they joined a group of friends. many of them current or former law enforcement officers. Among the group were Brian Albert, a Boston police sergeant, and his wife Nicole, along with Nicole's sister Jennifer McCabe and her husband Matthew. As the bar closed around midnight, the group was invited to continue the party at Brian Albert's house on 34 Fairview Road. His 23-year-old son was celebrating his birthday with friends and family. Security footage shows Karen and John leaving the waterfall together at 12:11 a.m.
Don't remember.
I don't recall.
I don't remember. I don't recall my interview.
I don't recall.
I do not recall having.
I don't recall.
I don't remember.
I don't remember if I was tired.
On docket number 2282 CR 117001, murder in the second degree. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Yes.
003. What say you? Is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? Is the defendant not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Yes.
So say you all?
Yes.
They got into Karen's black Lexus SUV. What happened next is where the stories diverge completely. According to prosecutors, Karen drove John to the Albert house. But she was drunk. Her blood alcohol content was estimated to be between 0.13 and 0.29, well over the legal limit. She and John had been arguing. Their relationship had been rocky in recent months, especially after a New Year's trip to Aruba where tensions flared. In a fit of anger, prosecutors say, Karen put her Lexus in reverse and backed into John at approximately 24 miles per hour, striking him with such force that it fractured his skull and caused bleeding in his brain. Then she left him there in the snow and drove home alone. According to Karen and her defense team, that's a complete fabrication. She says she dropped John off at the Albert house around 12:30 a.m. He got out. She drove away. She assumed he went inside to the party. She went home, expecting to hear from him later. But she never did. The next morning, when he hadn't come home and wasn't answering his phone, she grew worried. She enlisted two friends, Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts, to help her search for him. They drove back to the Albert house around 6 a.m. And that's when Karen saw him. John's body was on the front lawn, partially covered in snow, near the street. Karen screamed. She jumped out of the car and ran to him.
Okay, in about the next 3 seconds, Sergeant, I'm asking you to pay special attention to me. Go ahead. Trooper Proctor was ultimately assigned as the, what did you call him, not lead investigator, but case officer?
That's correct.
Did you personally, as his supervisor, did you personally respond to 34 Fairview at any point on January 29th?
No, I did not.
Did Trooper Proctor, at your direction or on his own, ever respond to 34 Fairview Road at any time on January 29th?
Oh, she's out back. Outside? Yeah. There's somebody in the house. Yeah.
All right, here's all her medication and shoe wear that she wants. I'm gonna turn off my camera here.
First right. And the first left.
She tried to perform CPR, getting his blood all over her jacket. She was hysterical, crying, asking what happened. Emergency services arrived. John was rushed to Good Samaritan Medical Center. At 7:50 a.m., he was pronounced dead. The medical examiner later determined his cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head and hypothermia. His skull was fractured. He had 2 black eyes. His right arm was covered in scratches and puncture wounds. Pieces of broken taillight were found at the scene, along with fragments of what appeared to be a cocktail glass. John had been seen leaving the bar with a drink in his hand. At first, it seemed like a tragic accident. Maybe Karen had been too drunk to notice she hit him. Maybe she panicked and drove away. On February 1, 2022, Karen was arrested and charged with manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide, and leaving the scene of an accident causing death. She posted $50,000 bail and was released. But then things got strange. On February 2, 2022, the day after Karen's arrest and just hours after her arraignment, her attorney, David Yannetti, received an anonymous phone call. The caller claimed to have a background in Boston law enforcement. He said that John O'Keefe hadn't been hit by a car at all. He said John had been beaten to death inside 34 Fairview Road by Brian Albert and his nephew Colin Albert.
It's a whack job. See you.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though.
I'm going through his client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the client?
I was referring to Miss Reed.
He also called her retarded, correct?
That is what's written.
And that's what you read.
I have no memory of reading that. I acknowledged him going through the phone on my Apple Watch. I have no memory of him writing retarded on a text message.
Did you encourage that statement by Michael Proctor by liking it with a thumbs up?
I don't know if it encouraged him, but so I cannot speak to that.
But that's what you did.
I acknowledged the text message being sent.
How close did you remain in contact with Michael Proctor after high school?
Very close.
Could you read all of them, please?
These are not my words. I'm not really comfortable reading these. Do I have to say these words out loud?
I'll say the words, and I'm going to ask you if I'm reading accurately. Is that better?
Yes.
11 p.m., 5 minutes, 57 seconds. Mr. Proctor says, from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job, and then uses the C word to describe. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
At the bottom, from one member in the group stating, oh, she's skating.
Yes.
Mr. Proctor responds, zero chance she's skated. She's effed. She's fucked.
Yes.
And then one person in the group says, no ass bitch. Accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Mr. Proctor, there's a response, laughed at, quote, no ass bitch.
Yes.
Somebody in the group says, is that chick a smoke? And then the same person follows up with a question mark. Accurate?
Accurate.
Mr. Proctor responds, E-H.
Yes.
Nut bag, as my chief would say.
Yes.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Yes.
Leaks poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
But you're still friends with him?
I am.
Then, according to the caller, Brian Albert and an unnamed federal agent, later identified as Brian Higgins, an ATF agent who had been at the party, dragged John's body outside and staged the scene to make it look like a hit and run. The caller was later revealed to be Stephen Scanlon, a private investigator. He gave a formal statement to authorities confirming his tip. The defense team began digging. And the more they dug, the more suspicious things they found. First, there was Jennifer McCabe's Google search. Phone extraction data showed that at 2:27 a.m. on January 29th, hours before John's body was found, Jennifer had Googled, "Hose long to die in cold," a typo for, "how long to die in cold." Jennifer claimed she made the search after they found John's body, at Karen's request, because Karen was asking how long he'd been out there. But the phone data showed the search happened at 2:27 a.m. Karen didn't call Jennifer to help search for John until around 5 a.m. How could Jennifer have searched that phrase 3 hours before anyone knew John was missing? Prosecutors argued that 2:27 a.m. was just when the browser tab was opened, not when the search was actually conducted. But digital forensics experts hired by the defense disputed this, saying the timestamp represented the actual search time. Second, there was the evidence collection. On January 29th, the day John's body was found, police collected 2 red plastic taillight pieces, 1 clear plastic piece, and 1 of John's sneakers from the scene. But then, on February 1st, 3 days later, Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor allegedly found more plastic pieces at the scene.
John, I'm here with your fucking kids. Nobody knows what the fuck you are, you fucking pervert. Yeah, it's 1 in the morning. I'm with your fucking niece and nephew. You fucking pervert. You're a fucking pervert. John, I'm going home. I cannot babysit your niece. I need to go home. You are fucking using me right now. You're fucking another girl. She's sleeping next to me. You're a fucking loser. Fuck yourself.
My phone rings and I look at my caller ID. I look at the phone and it's Kaylee, John's niece.
When you pick up the phone, could you hear a voice on the other end?
I heard a voice and a lot of screaming.
And the voice you heard, is that Kaylee, John's niece?
Yes.
Could you make out anything that person was saying as they were screaming?
My name was screamed a lot. The other individual ended up getting on the phone with me.
Okay. And who was that person that was screaming in the background?
Miss Reed. And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying.
Did the defendant give you any information other than she had dropped John off at the waterfall?
They had gotten into a fight. She had left him there and he didn't come home.
Karen called. The first thing she said was, Carrie, John's dead. And then she hung up. So I started to get up and I think I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know exactly when, because I was like, what? And then I tried to call her back. I know I tried to call her back, but I don't know if she answered or if she called me back the next time I spoke to her. The second time she said, I think something happened to John. I think he got hit by a plow. He didn't come home last night. Kaylee was home. He would never leave her by herself, and I was not supposed to stay at the house last night. So I think something happened to him.
Did she say anything about drinking?
Yes, she said, we drank so much, I don't remember anything from last night. And I said, okay, where are you now? She said, I'm driving. And I said, you need to go home. Where's Kaylee? And she said, at home. I said, you need to go home and be with Kaylee. She cannot handle this, thinking, her uncle's missing. I said, you're going to get a DUI. You need to go home. She said, I'm going to drive to your house. Would you drive my car? And I said, yes.
And on February 4th, former Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berkowitz allegedly found even more taillight pieces on the street. How were these pieces not found during the initial search? Why were they suddenly appearing days later? Third, there was Brian Albert's behavior. Within months of John's death, Brian sold his house and moved. He also got rid of his dog, a German Shepherd that defense attorneys believed had attacked John inside the house, causing the scratches and puncture wounds on his arm. The defense hired experts who said John's arm injuries were consistent with a dog attack, not a vehicle collision. But by the time the defense could request DNA testing on the dog, it was gone. Fourth, there was lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor. Text messages discovered during the investigation revealed that Proctor had a personal connection to the Albert family. He'd known them since childhood. And his conduct during the investigation was appalling. In a group text with high school friends, just 16 hours into the investigation and before John's autopsy had even been performed, Proctor wrote, "They won't be able to prove she hit him with her car. All the powers that be want answers ASAP." He referred to Karen as a whack job cunt and said, "She's fucked. Zero chance she skates."
So I hear yelling, so I was downstairs making coffee, I go to my front door and I open it, and she's screaming, "Jen! Jen!" And then she was saying, we have to go to Fairview. A lot of the, could I have hit him, did I hit him, just she was on repeat.
I said, "Where are you? I'm waiting." And she said, "I'm at Jen's house." And I said, "Jen who?" And she said, "McCabe. She's going to drive my car." And I said, "Okay, well listen, they don't want cars on the road because it's so bad. I'm already in my car. I'll come there to Jen's house, stay there, and we'll follow each other and we'll go back and drop your car off. Did you look in the house for John? Could he just be in the house, passed out somewhere?" And she said no, she hadn't looked in the house. So I said, "Okay, I'm going to come to Jen's. We're going to take the car home, drop it off. We'll check around the house." And then I don't know what the next step at this point was. I just wanted to check the house.
He joked about wanting to search Karen's home for nudes. He sent photos of her personal items to friends and mocked her. He showed a complete lack of professionalism and impartiality. When these texts became public during the first trial, there was national outrage. Proctor was suspended without pay. In March 2025, just weeks before Karen's second trial began, he was dishonorably discharged from the Massachusetts State Police. Fifth, there were the missing witnesses and destroyed evidence. Brian Albert's nephew, Colin Albert, left the party around 12:30 a.m., right around the time John allegedly arrived. Colin had scratches on his hands shortly after John's death. When questioned, he claimed they were from slipping on ice. The defense believed Colin had been in a fight with John. Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, had been romantically interested in Karen. Text messages showed he and Karen had kissed just 2 weeks before John's death, though Karen said it was a one-time drunken mistake and she'd immediately told John about it. Higgins was at the Albert house that night. The defense theorized he might have confronted John. And then there was the federal investigation. In January 2024, letters between the U.S. Department of Justice and Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey were released, confirming that a federal probe had been launched into Morrissey's office. The investigation was looking into possible misconduct and corruption. While it eventually closed without charges, it added fuel to the conspiracy theories. By June 2022, a grand jury had upgraded the charges against Karen to second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence, and leaving the scene. She faced life in prison. Her defense team, led by attorneys Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, built their case on one central claim: Karen Reed was framed. John O'Keefe never made it into Karen's car after she dropped him off. He went into the Albert house. Something happened inside, a fight, an altercation, possibly involving Colin Albert or Brian Higgins. John was beaten. He was bitten by the dog. And then, to cover it up, his body was dragged outside and staged to look like a hit and run.
When you saw the defendant at your front door, had the weather changed overnight?
Yes, now the snow had intensified. It was almost like, it was dark outside, but it was like whiteout conditions.
How dark?
It was dark. It was like 5:30 in the morning.
What was the visibility like?
Not good. We went down my walkway. The driver's door was open, so I told her I was going to drive because I thought she was too hysterical to drive. In the meantime, all of a sudden there was a car at the end of my street and there was a plow behind it. I meant the end of my driveway, I'm sorry.
Did you know who was in that car?
No.
Did you learn who was in that car?
Yes. I asked the defendant, and she told me it was Carrie Roberts.
I pulled in behind her car in Jen's driveway, and at some point Karen said, my taillight, and I looked, and Jen she must have had the brake done because you could see that there was missing taillight.
When you say missing taillight, was it merely cracked?
No, there was a piece missing.
When you saw that the taillight had a missing piece, did you say anything?
No.
Did you think anything of it?
No.
You followed Miss McCabe?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To John's house. So we went in through the garage, and I started looking. Jen ran upstairs to Kaylee's bedroom.
Why did you go to Kaylee's room?
Because I wanted to go check on Kaylee.
What was her demeanor at that point?
She was in the bed. She was holding on to her phone. She was terrified. I told Kaylee that I was going to go out with them and I was going to find John. And I promised her that everything would be okay.
And then I checked the other living room. He has a big house. Then I went to the top of the stairs to check his bedroom.
Did you see the defendant?
Yes.
Was she looking with you?
She was in John's room.
What was she doing?
She was just standing there when I came up to the top of the stairs.
Did she say anything?
No.
Did she do anything?
No.
Was she searching?
I don't know. She was in the room.
What happens next?
The plan was to go back to Jen's sister's house.
Who made that plan?
Karen wanted to go back there.
Ultimately, Carrie said, all right, we'll go there, almost like to shut her up. Carrie was driving, I was in the front, and Karen was in the back. She would go from sitting back to leaning up in between us, and she would yell Carrie's name 3 times. Then she would yell my name three times. And then she would yell, could I hit him? Did I hit him? over and over again.
In addition to trying to drive, were you doing anything like looking or searching?
Yeah, we were looking on both sides of the, I was looking on both sides of the road in case he was.
No, police from Square Line, what is your emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow. I think he's dead. We need, you gotta get here ASAP, okay?
I'm going to transfer the line. I'm going to transfer to Canton.
Okay. I know. Where are the blankets? I don't see blankets, Terry.
911, what's your emergency?
Yes, I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass. There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
In the snow at 34?
He passed out, yes. 34, the Albert resident, yes. I just pulled up and found him. You've got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
Okay, that's his girlfriend. His name is John O'Keefe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
Where are you guys outside?
Oh, right out front. You'll see his car. I know. I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I know, honey. I know. Look, Carrie, you got to get off him, honey.
Pieces of Karen's taillight were planted. Evidence was fabricated. And a corrupt investigation, led by Proctor with his personal ties to the Alberts, railroaded an innocent woman. The prosecution called this theory absurd. They said there was no evidence John ever entered the house. 11 witnesses at the party gave statements saying they never saw him. Forensic testing showed John's hair on Karen's bumper and his DNA on the broken taillight. Bits of cocktail glass were found embedded in the bumper. Karen's own voicemails to John in the early morning hours were frantic and angry. In one, she screamed, "John, I fucking hate you." The first trial began in April 2024. It was a media circus. Court TV live-streamed every moment. Hundreds of Free Karen Red supporters gathered outside the courthouse daily, some traveling from other states. They wore pink, Karen's favorite color. They held signs. They chanted. A blogger named Aidan Kearney, who went by Turtle Boy, published over 100 articles about the case, sold Free Karen Red merchandise, and raised money for her defense fund. He was later arrested and charged with witness intimidation. Inside the courtroom, the testimony was explosive. The McCabes, the Alberts, Carrie Roberts, police officers, forensic experts, everyone took the stand. Trooper Proctor's vile text messages were read aloud.
Female with blood on her face, and I, real quick, as I was in the process of providing ventilations, I said, do you know this person?
What did she say to you?
I hit him.
I asked if there had been any significant trauma that happened that preceded this, and she answered with, I hit him. There was a woman next to us who told her to calm down, stop talking, calm down, you're hysterical. So she repeated, I hit him, and a police officer said, you what? And she repeated it again, I hit him.
I remember everything. I said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I mean, I had drank, so, and that led me to question, like, could I have hit him? Did I run over his foot or hit him in the knee? Did I incapacitate him? I said, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark.
As I mentioned, it was said 3 times to me.
So now you do remember last year, you only said that it was repeated twice.
I believe I said I hit him twice on the stand last year.
Right. And if you're saying I hit him 3 times instead of twice, that, firefighter Nuttall, is inconsistent with your testimony today, correct? You
yes,
agree
sir,
with that?
but that is how it went that morning, though, sir.
Okay, that's not my question. I'm asking you, if you testified last year,
yes, sir,
that you heard the phrase twice, and now a year goes by, and you're testifying in front of this jury this year that you heard it 3 times, those 2 statements are inconsistent with one another, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The defense grilled every prosecution witness, suggesting they were all part of the cover-up. But after 9 weeks of testimony and 5 days of deliberation, the jury was deadlocked. On July 1, 2024, Judge Beverly Cannoni declared a mistrial. The jury had been starkly divided. Here's where it gets even more complicated. After the mistrial, several jurors came forward and said they had unanimously agreed Karen was not guilty of second-degree murder and leaving the scene. But they were hung on the manslaughter charge. They claimed they didn't know how to communicate a partial verdict to the judge. They thought they had to reach unanimous agreement on all charges or none. Karen's defense team immediately filed motions arguing that double jeopardy should prevent her from being retried on the murder and leaving the scene charges, since the jury had already acquitted her on those. They appealed all the way to the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court.
With regard to the facts of the case, Judge, manslaughter is a tremendous reach in this case. I don't see any criminal intent that would justify manslaughter in that affidavit. And there's a reason for that, because there was no criminal intent. This was not some random stranger. This was my client's boyfriend, somebody with whom she was in love, somebody with whom she essentially lived with.
Butt dial.
I believe I used the word butt dials.
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
But the appeals were denied. The retrial was scheduled for April 2025. The second trial was different. The prosecution brought in Hank Brennan, a highly respected trial attorney who normally works as a defense lawyer. He was stellar, precise, knowledgeable, commanding. He didn't put Proctor, Brian Albert, or Brian Higgins on the stand this time. He didn't need to. He focused on the physical evidence, the DNA, the taillight pieces, the cocktail glass shards. He also used Karen's own words against her. Between the two trials, Karen had done numerous TV interviews. Brennan played clips of these interviews in court, showing Karen saying things that contradicted her defense or made her look bad. The defense, meanwhile, brought in even more expert witnesses. Biomechanics experts testified that John's injuries were inconsistent with being hit by a vehicle. Accident reconstruction specialists said the physics didn't add up. DNA experts testified about possible dog DNA on John's clothing. The defense theory was the same: cover-up, frame job, corrupt cops. Jury selection began April 1, 2025. Opening statements were April 22. The trial lasted 8 weeks. On June 13, the jury began deliberations. For 4 days, they deliberated. Over 21 hours total. The tension was unbearable. On June 18, during the lunch break, the jury knocked and said they'd reached a verdict. But then, minutes later, they knocked again and said they hadn't. Judge Canoni sealed the first verdict slip and told everyone to wait. 30 minutes later, the jury confirmed they had a unanimous verdict. The courtroom was packed. Hundreds more people waited outside. The verdict was read. Count 1, second-degree murder, not guilty. Count 2, manslaughter while operating under the influence, not guilty. Count 3, leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, not guilty. Count 4. Operating under the influence of liquor, guilty. Cheers erupted outside the courthouse. Karen Reed burst into tears and embraced her legal team. She was sentenced to 1 year of probation, the standard for a first-time OUI offense. She walked out of the courthouse, placed her hand over her heart, and raised her fist in triumph. She and her lawyers displayed the American Sign Language sign for "I love you," a gesture that had become a rallying cry for the Free Karen Red movement.
Okay, I disagree with you. All right, excuse me. This is funny, Ms. Reed. All right, we're done.
All rise to the court, please.
Hey, Mr. Brennan, what's the Commonwealth's recommendation?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth moves for sentencing. We recommend a probation, 1 year, 24D program.
So the standard that everybody else gets on their first time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
We ask that she be treated no differently, no better.
So I'm happy to do it. All right, thank you all.
1 year probation, 1 year probation on docket number 002.
So the standard that everybody else gets on their first time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
116.
You have 1 minute, Mr. Lally. Wrap it up.
Yes, Your Honor. All consistent with pieces of taillight that are found within his clothing.
Gentleman, if I could.
Say the face.
In brief remarks, Karen thanked her supporters. "Sunlight is the best disinfectant," she said, quoting Justice Louis Brandeis. The verdict sparked immediate reaction. Supporters celebrated. But the Albert, McCabe, and Roberts families released a statement calling it a devastating miscarriage of justice. They said their hearts were with John and the O'Keefe family, who deserved better from our justice system. John's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Karen, as well as the 2 Canton bars where the couple drank that night. That civil case is still pending. District Attorney Michael Morrissey issued a terse statement: "The jury has spoken." So what really happened to John O'Keefe? If you believe the prosecution and the jury's guilty verdict on the OUI charge, Karen was drunk that night. Maybe she did drop John off at the house. Maybe she misjudged her backing up. Maybe she hit him without fully realizing it. Maybe she drove away in a panic. And maybe, when she sobered up the next morning and realized what she'd done, she convinced herself it couldn't have been her, that someone else must be responsible. If you believe the defense and Karen's acquittal on the serious charges, then John O'Keefe was murdered by people inside that house. Beaten, possibly by Colin Albert or in an altercation involving Brian Higgins. Attacked by a dog. Dragged outside. And then a group of cops and their families conspired to frame Karen because she was an easy target, the girlfriend, the outsider, the one who wasn't part of their law enforcement brotherhood. The truth is, we may never know for certain. The federal investigation closed without charges. No one else has been arrested or charged in connection with John's death. Trooper Proctor was fired, but not criminally prosecuted. The Alberts, the McCabes, Brian Higgins, none of them faced charges. What we do know is this: the Karen Red case exposed serious problems in the Canton Police Department and the Massachusetts State Police. An independent audit of the Canton PD, released in April 2025, found multiple issues with how the department handled the investigation. Lead investigator Trooper Proctor's conduct was inexcusable. His text messages alone raised serious questions about bias and professionalism. The evidence collection was sloppy. Taillight pieces appearing days after the initial search. The Google search by Jennifer McCabe at 2:27 a.m. remains unexplained. Brian Albert's decision to sell his house and get rid of his dog looks suspicious, even if it's not proof of guilt. The case also highlighted the power and danger of social media in high-profile trials. The Free Karen Red movement was unprecedented. Thousands of people who didn't know Karen personally became invested in her innocence. Blogger Turtleboy built a following by promoting conspiracy theories about the case. Witnesses were harassed online and in person. The trial became less about facts and more about narratives. And then there's the question of justice for John O'Keefe. A good man. A devoted cop. A loving guardian. He's dead. And whether Karen killed him or someone else did, his niece and nephew, now teenagers, have lost the only parent figure they had left. His family will never get him back. Netflix has announced a 3-part documentary series about the case, though no release date has been set. Alan Jackson, Karen's lead attorney, and Karen herself are reportedly working on a book and film script about the case. Karen Reed is free. She's on probation for 1 year for the OUI conviction. She's trying to rebuild her life after nearly 4 years of hell. But this case will haunt Canton, Massachusetts, for generations. It divided the town. Neighbor turned against neighbor. Some believe Karen is a murderer who got away with it because her lawyers were good at creating reasonable doubt. Others believe she's a victim of a massive conspiracy, an innocent woman who was nearly destroyed by corrupt cops protecting their own. The only thing everyone agrees on is that John O'Keefe deserved better. He deserved to live. He deserved to raise those kids. He deserved justice. Whether he got it depends entirely on which version of this story you believe.
What say, is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
Offense of operating under the influence, 1 year probation.
Karen, what is life going to be like for you now?
I spent the whole ride back to the hotel. We were hearing from